All right. So, this is the Action Artist, and I am live, and I got my little area. I modified this little area in my kitchen for now, just to um, do this. And if you can't see what I'm doing, I'll show you. But this is good enough for now. Basically, um, one of the biggest questions about almost anything, writing a book, writing a song, or whatever, doing comics is where do you start? And I'm going to answer that as best that I can. One of the best places to start your storyline is usually in a fairly important place, but not like too important. Like not somewhere where the person won't know. All right. Well, you can do whatever you want, basically. So, but what I'm trying to say is a good place to start is any situation that gives away some kind of fairly important information about the character and about the entire storyline. And you know, I like to not, you know, I like to save the best for last, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like in other words, like you have to consider your story arc. You know, you could do some Quentin Tarantino type stuff, and you could start at the climax of your first, or I don't mean like entire story arc. I mean like your story for that issue. It's your first issue. It's either issue number 0 or issue number 1, however you're doing it. And it's the opening page. It's probably a splash page. Doesn't have to be that either, but typically it's a splash page. It's most definitely rules are pretty much made to be broken, but it's most definitely uh, establishing shot. So a good thing to do is think about a movie that you like, and think about that director, and think about yourself being a camera, and how does that director, like if you like George Lucas, or if you like Stanley Kubrick is a favorite of mine. Uh, you know, um, think about how Full Metal Jacket started out. It like started out with like I can't even hardly remember, but it definitely let you know that it was like some dudes going into the military. It like started out with like some dudes like getting sworn in or something and getting on a bus and then going to boot camp, and like the first thing they showed was like them getting all their hair cut off. uh it's like, they didn't start out in some arbitrary area in one of the characters' lives. They started out, like right away you knew, okay, this is the military. These guys are going to they're going to, into the military, and then very very early on, they're going to war. So the point is that's the kind of thing you want to do. You want to I start off so basically you want to, like, what I'm trying to say is you want to, I'm getting like but let me try to narrow this down. I'm grabbing my coffee here. You want to start off in an area in the character's life, usually, or something that's going to have to relate to the character, where if you're going to jump around, like Quentin Tarantino will start in the middle of the film. and then he'll catch you up to speed, and then he'll go back and catch you up to speed. Then he'll like finish out the film and you'll see the end of the film. He'll like start out at the climax or something. You know what I mean? So this is all, you know, you don't have, this is not written in stone. If you're a really good story writer, you know, then you don't need any of this advice. But to make it simple on yourself, if especially if it's just you or you and like one other person doing a comic, start off in a fairly important part in the character's life, maybe in a place where they live. That's what my storyline for my comic book starts out at the abandoned building where my sort of vigilante fugitive uh, or fugitive vigilante hero is hiding out, like building things, getting ready for a battle with the corrupt government. So, you know, you got to figure out where you're going to start your storyline. Well, you're going to, you know, usually, you know, take your main character, start out at some, you know, you like, you can either, you don't even have to do an origin, but you can just start out at some spot that's going to like make the reader just go, wow, you know what I mean? Like, damn, you know what I mean? By like 4 or 5 pages in, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, damn, you know, that was, and you can have some action, you know what I mean? You don't even have to do that, but you can have some action. Like, pretty much by page 4 or 5, my character is taking out a corrupt cop, you know, and then you're just like, whoa, like, what's this dude's issue? You know what I mean? But the point is like, you know, you want to like sort of lead the reader in. You want to start out at an area, and like I said, that gives away some vital information, but not too vital. You know what I mean? You want to be able to work up to your climax. Like I start out, like I said, my storyline at the abandoned building where my guy is hiding out. He's getting ready for battle. It's obvious because he's talking about in the beginning. He's up on top of the building. He's like psyched. He's like, my armor is finally finished. He's like, I vow, God, to, you know, destroy all evil and tyranny over the minds of my countrymen. And then he's like, you know, and then he climbs down this fire escape and he kind of pulls a board. You know, he like climbs into he like takes a board out of a window, you know, and he's climbing into the window with the board in his hand, and then he comes into like this crappy little room with like one little lamp. It's like really dark. You know, I'm probably gonna make it a camping type lamp, like a little lamp, like a camping lantern or something that he's got in there. Maybe even runs out of battery. I gotta change. You know, I still am working out certain things too in my storyline, but it's all very important. Details are important. And then you know, and then he basically drinks some coffee, and then you see him, and then he hits the streets, and you see him walking down an alleyway, and I'm giving away bits and pieces of storyline the whole way. He's like thinking about how World War III is pretty much starting. Everything's crazy. You know, the police are super corrupt. Uh, People can barely afford to live. You know, and then like, and you don't find out quite yet, but you know, he goes into the store and he sees one of the police. Well, he sees this cop's cruiser outside, and one thing leads to another. And my point is, and you know, he does this cop, and he like, if you go look at some of my earlier videos, you can see where you know, he like deals justice to this corrupt cop that screwed him over. But before that happens, he flashes back to court where he loses his children for over some false allegations, and it ruins his whole life. And then later you find out one of his kids dies in foster care. So this guy is like beyond mad. There's like no, you know, he's like Punisher mad. You know what I mean? Like, and so he's, my point is I show I show the abandoned building where he lives, and then I show him flash back to being screwed over in court and losing his children while he's like standing over this corrupt cop that thought it was funny to screw him over. And so that's my storyline, and that's how I started out, because that's like one of the most important parts of my story is him starting this battle, kind of like Falling Down. When is it Falling? No, not Falling Down. That was well, although Nutjob is a little bit like that character, except he's not a wacko like like Michael Douglas plays in Falling Down. He doesn't just he doesn't flip out over stupid shit. My point is no, not Falling Down. What's the other one I was gonna say? Walking Tall. You know what I mean? Remember the part in Walking Tall where they basically try to kill him. They hold him down, take a box cutter and just cut all his abs, cut his whole body, his whole stomach area and abs and everything all up, and then they dump him in the road bleeding. And he ends up in the hospital. And then he goes home and he's healing. And Walking Tall is based on a true story, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but Walking Tall is loosely based on a true story about a war veteran that came back, and the town had become corrupt, and the police were running casinos and bootlegging and liquor and all this stuff. And the guy it was actually a little white guy, like 145-pound white dude that was in the special forces in like World War II or whatever, came home, and yeah, he got his guns and he went against the entire police force in his town. So you can see now how I'm pulling from reality. And you will find that truth is stranger than fiction. So it's really cool it's really cool to just take these, our founding fathers. You want to read a little bit of history, and a lot of stuff that went on in history is like, truth is stranger than fiction. So you can base events in your comic book around things that you've heard about and read about. But once you have that planned out, your starting point, then it's an establishing shot. And so generally you're going to have your first page, and then you're going to have an establishing shot. And so if your establishing shot is, say, a mansion, like if you're working on like the X-Men or something like that, you know what I mean, or Batman, you know what I mean, then well, you can pull up, like I could pull up reference right now and just start sketching out a mansion. But I'll just I'll just show you like basically you could have some trees. I'm starting here, I drew kind of like a little rectangle for my page, and you can just have some trees. And for trees, I usually just do these like little, leafy lines, especially right off the back, just to indicate where they are in the picture, like basically. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Your establishing shot, you should just be like a director in like some of your favorite movies, and like a lot of establishing shots are overhead views from high up, like almost like a camera on a crane or something. So right off the bat, like here, let's just do this, and then like maybe a little windy driveway. And then like, oh, it's a mansion, so they're going to have a circular, they're going to have I'm not even looking up reference, I'm just going off in my head. Let me just draw a circle, a big oval. and then, a little island in the middle, and then, and you just start, you just start roughing out your, start roughing out your drawing. I'm just doing a quick, like, and I'll get into perspective and stuff. There's other artists already on here that talk about perspective. I'm just basically, pretending like, and I'm almost done. Don't worry, I know you're bored. Basically, I'll show you. So you can see, I got some trees and I got a driveway, and let's say, oh, okay, here's a limo. You just, you can even look at a real movie, you know what I mean, on TV and just kind of, there's plenty of resources out there. If you have cable, you got internet, you know what I mean? So you put like your, you just make a little box with some wheels for now. Doesn't have to be perfect. Pulling into the driveway. Oops. I'm like already getting particular about it. But so you're like, okay, I'm gonna have a limousine pulling in. There's a little circular thing, and you can have a fountain or whatever, a sculpture. Out here, you can put some steps, maybe put some lions on the steps right here. It's a mansion. Look up mansions. And then, then an overhead view, and, then maybe there's these dormers with like windows, like multiple rooms, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, and then you have your trees and shrubbery and something like that. I'm just saying, balcony right here maybe, whatever, however you're doing your mansion, but you get the point, you know what I'm saying? And you basically, there's just a quick example of an establishing shot. You know what I mean? My character or my comic book starts out, basically, here's a rooftop. Here's like a fire. I've already drawn this. I'm just kind of doing it again out of memory. But here's that, and then here's my character. I'll rough this out just for the fun of it. Now I'm getting drawing. I'm getting warmed up. You're gonna see me going to town. There's my rib cage. I'm just, this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just, And then that was his other. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's just an example. And this leg down here. Okay, so basically, and then oh, and then there's a big another big building no, it's actually lower in the sky. It's like down here in the background. There's windows. It's like an abandoned building with boarded up windows. I'm just roughing this out. With boarded up windows behind them. And then there's like clouds. Clouds like this in the sky. And then, you know, I did like a crescent moon or something up here in the corner. You know what I mean? So there, I roughed this out real quick. The fire escape got lost. All right. So just rough this out really quickly. So that's kind of like my opening page. There's the heroes up there on the roof. You know what I mean? And you see like a fire escape like ladder next to them. And then you see like an abandoned building and clouds and whatever. And then like the moon up in the sky there. You know what I mean? I just roughed that out. That's the opening page of my comic. And he's like, he's out. He's kind of, there's nobody around, or, you know, he doesn't think there is. And anyway, you know, and he's basically out in the middle, like late at night, you know, howling at the moon. Now he's basically shouting to God. He's like vowing an oath. You know what I mean? To like, I already talked about it. But so there's like an example, and then you have, you know, your little word bubbles and word bubbles. How you do the the little stems on your word bubbles is you make a point in the center of the word bubble like this. You make your word bubble, your oval or whatever shape it is, and then the arrow or the point, like the tail, like say here's the word bubble. The tail should protrude from an angle that points to the center of that word bubble and then goes towards their mouth. So like that. Here's a dot in the middle of this word bubble. And so just go like this. There you go. There's the tail right there. There's where you put the tail right there on that one. That's how you do your word bubbles. And so, you know, but that's an establishing shot. It's my opening scene. Abandoned building at nighttime. Dude in armor on top of this building, 1 foot up on the on the ledge, basically. And that's pretty much where you start with a comic book. And you know, like I said, pick an area. I'll just recap real quick. Pick an area in your storyline that's fairly important. Maybe not, you know, you don't want to give away too much. You want to save some stuff for later. You want to surprise your reader with like the really cool stuff. But you know, just an area that gets the point across, that kind of tips people off, you know, about the main character or characters or the main point of the storyline. And you know, and then figure out where that takes place. And then the opening page should just, you know, most of the time it'll be like either some cool angle, like a overhead view or a worm's eye view, you know what I mean, of the main character, or of like a car that the main character is in, you know what I mean, or a building that the main character or characters are in. And it's very easy. Then you go from there. Then once you have that, and then like I said, just play like you're a director in one of your favorite movies. Like a lot of movies, start out with a camera now flying over the mountaintops. You know what I mean? That's what you can kind of do. You're a camera, you're coming over the mountaintops, and oh, here's this cool looking building, like a science laboratory or something. And then the reader knows right away, like, oh, okay, this is going to be like some fucking sci-fi shit, pretty cool. And then they flip the page. Now you see like some people inside of the, you know, inside in a room somewhere inside that building. And you know what I'm saying? And everybody knows, you know what I mean? Okay, like, and usually the what is it? The those little rectangles can also say like, March 13th, 2018, the solar the uh US defense laboratory such and such, Alaska. You know what I'm saying? Something crazy like that. Da 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 da. You know, and and basically lead your reader in from there. Like if you had a car driving up to the laboratory, you could show an overhead view, car in a driveway coming up to a laboratory. Then the next page, or even in another little smaller panel down in the corner of your splash page, you can show a character inside the car from like a worm's eye view. You know what I mean? So you're like contrasting already, where you're starting with an overhead view of this expansive property with a science laboratory, and then first panel after the after your establishment shot, oh, now it's a worm's eye view looking up of somebody in the back seat of the limo, and it's like some woman or man, or that the storyline is about, perhaps. And he's like on the phone and he's rich or something. He's like a scientist, or if it's some punk, you know what I mean, type character, you're gonna want to show probably some gritty fucking city scene. And, you know what I mean, and then have like you know some dudes down in the on a balcony far away, like you can just see like these little, barely detailed individuals on a balcony in this gritty ass city scene, or something, or just word bubbles coming from one of the windows in a building, and then you show some grimy apartment inside or something. You know what I mean? Like, or you just show a city scene and then show a closer up of some of the buildings in the city scene, where there's like an alleyway, and alleyways are always a great place to start. You know what I mean? Or a club. It depends on what you want to do. If it's a war scene, you know what I mean? If you're, it depends on, like I said, you can start out with like, a jungle. You know what I mean? You just got to pick the area where you're starting out, and then picture yourself being a camera. That's how you start your comic book. And you're just starting out. You don't have to be Frank Miller. Just and another thing too, you can change it later. So just get it. One way to start your comic. Where do you start? Just start it. Just start it. I started mine, and then I went back and added 2 pages to the beginning because I didn't like where I started it initially. So you can go back and change it later, but I only had to draw 2 pages. I got like, you've seen, if you go through, I got tons of sketches, and I'm already roughing out pages for like issues ahead of or 2 issues ahead. So like, you know um but like what I'm saying is I got all this material done. It was no big deal for me to just go and add 2 more pages. They're not done yet. I'm just roughing them out. Basically, my whole comic is roughed out, and I'm just kind of sitting around taking my time at my leisure because I have to work full time. I work full time as a medical biller. I'm in medical billing. It has nothing to do, but I'm gonna get off onto some other stuff here. So if you want to tune out, you can tune out. But just on this topic of time, finding time to do it, a comic book. I work full time as a medical biller. Generally, you have to have some kind of like degree for what I do. And I've had to quit college generally because I cannot afford it most of the time, and I'm just too unstable. I try to go to college, and I try to be quote optimistic and not be a quitter, and not be a defeatist and be like, oh, I can't afford college. I just go. I just try to go to college and don't even worry about it. And generally, I end up poor, broke, stinky, with shitty clothes and no food in my refrigerator. Can't even get a goddamn food stamp. Can't find a good job. So I end up having to quit. It's like I don't even belong there. It's like I'm somewhere where I don't belong. Can't afford it. Trying to pretend I'm a rich kid. So I end up, and they just take my money and go, okay, see you, Stuart. And it doesn't matter. You're a good artist. No degree for you. And that's how that works for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for you that way, but doesn't matter. I'm a good artist. I can probably outdraw some of the teachers that have degrees, that have worked at these colleges. Doesn't matter that I have a good artist, or that I'm a good artist. No degree for you, Stuart. You don't have the money. See you later. No degree for you, Stuart. Don't have the money. No degree for you. No, we're not going to hook you up with any. We're not going to endorse you and try to find you a job anywhere. No money. You don't have enough money. So, but here's the thing. Even though I don't have a degree, I work in a field where it requires you to have a degree. So I already know that, and it's in the medical field, not art, not the artsy fartsy field. I work in the medical field, and I have to be meticulous, and I have to pay attention to detail, because if I don't, people won't get their medical bills paid, and I will get fired. And I can. It's very easy to transpose a couple numbers and charge somebody else. I mean, I do it a lot, actually. I don't do it as much as most people, but if you do that even one or two times, that person is pissed off when someone finds out that their insurance company got charged for for a medical visit that they never had, and then they have to call and straighten it all out because their insurance company pays the visit. This is what can happen as a medical biller if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And then they got to go straighten all that out with their insurance company, so the insurance company gets rid of that visit. So when they do need a visit, they don't go over their referral. If you've ever been injured, you know what I'm talking about. They don't go over or if you ever had this happen to you, you know what I'm talking about. They don't go over the amount of visits on their referral from the physician or whatever, the doctor, and then have it get rejected and not paid just because I falsely charged and I've already done this before. I have to write it off, say, oop, I'm a retard. This was 3, and I charged it to 1535. You have to be careful. You can't make dyslexic mistakes, or it was 1618, and my vision is bad, and I saw 15. I thought the 6 was a 5, and I charged it to account number 1518. You know what I mean? These are the things. My point being is, even though I make a couple mistakes here and there, I make very few mistakes, and I work in a field in the medical profession that requires a degree. How did I get my job with no degree? Nepotism. Lucky for me, didn't have to. I mean, I could probably be in jail right now. If I didn't have this job, I could. This is America now. This is I'm supposed to be optimistic about this, by the way, and not talk about this. I could be in jail right now because I would because this job does pay fairly well. It is in the medical field, but I'm still broke all the time. But my point being is I have to pay child support, and it's mandatory. And the judge and the Department of Revenue in Massachusetts doesn't care that my kids have never met me. They will throw me in a jail cell tomorrow if I miss one payment, if I miss one child support payment. But lucky for me, my parents knew a couple people that have a family owned medical billing business that were open minded enough to give their son a chance, some on the job training and a chance to start working and do this job at their facility with no degree, and so or no former experience or no college training. And I just and I learned computers, and when I went to school for art I learned computers because everything's computers now. So, my point being is, even though I know how to use all the program software that I was supposed to learn how to know, and even though I have a 124 IQ and I'm very intelligent, and even though I can draw almost anything, and even though I'm a good guy, it doesn't matter. I don't have any money, no degree for me. And that's how it's been. And I end up having to quit. Nobody cares. No refund, no nothing. See you later, Stuart. Tough luck for you. Bye bye. But you better pay your child support though, or you're going to jail. And by the way, we're going to take some taxes so that baby mamas can go and get educated for free while you barely stay out of prison for child support for two kids who have no idea who you are. This is America now. So, my point being is that, if you go back to my earlier videos about college and all this stuff. You know what I mean? I could care if all the colleges in the country blew up tomorrow and all the professors, if they just suddenly imploded because of some crazy science experiment and every college campus in the world imploded tomorrow. I would probably go out and have a beer and celebrate. I'd be like, cool, no more college. It's such a scam, and I'm living proof of that because I'm trying to kind of be motivational. We need to start going. This is why I'm doing this comic book online. We need to start going around the establishment. The establishment is there to hurt you and take from you and rob from you and take your money and smile at you and then fly off leaving you holding a bag of poop. That's what's going on in this country now. And so uh, basically what I'm trying to say is even just finding the time. I started out talking about this because I was talking about I work full time in the medical industry and I'm broke and I have no. Oh, by the way, I have no insurance. So I make a living making sure people get their insurance bills paid, and I have no insurance. And I'm in this weird la la land where because I don't have a degree, and I don't, because I don't have a degree, I can't really advance in my field. It's like I can't go from being a medical biller to being a physician or something. And because it is just crazy, but but I'm broke all the time and barely making it all the time. I had to borrow $20 off my father today. I had to borrow $20 off my fucking father today, and I'm a full grown man because I had to pay my whole paycheck this week went to taking care of my dog, my entire paycheck. And my dog is like one of my only friends. But anyway, so uh, you know, basically, but supposedly I make pretty much too much money to get free insurance, but I pay taxes for other people, like single baby mamas, and other disadvantaged people like my. They take money from me to pay for other free insurance for other disadvantaged people other than myself that have a different skin color or a different gender. So, that's fantastic. But who cares if I have insurance? I could fucking in Phoenix. I did almost die, and people were stepping over me in the street. Like, get away from me! I'm telling you, this you. I'm telling you, man. I don't know how to express this enough. Like, and that's why I'm doing this comic book. I'm doing it live. I'm proving that I can do it, and B, I am a living example that merit no longer matters. It's who you know, and you know what I mean, and nobody's gonna help you, and nobody's gonna care about you. Nobody's gonna help you, and nobody's gonna care about you. Doesn't matter if you're a good person. Doesn't matter if you're talented. If especially if you're a white male in America. If you're an American-born white male and you want to do comic books, you better really start thinking about you. I mean, forget college. You better really start perfecting your drawing skills one way or another, and then you have to understand it doesn't even matter if you're really talented. Uh, people will not care. People just won't care if there's nothing to be gained by associating with you. Doesn't matter how talented you are. You know what I mean? No, you're not necessarily going to get hired, and 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 other artists who could train you and take you like to that level. Like, let's say you're just below that level because you've never worked professionally and you've never had a professional education doing comic books. You know what I mean? They're not going to give a shit about you. They're basically probably most likely going to help themselves. I don't know what to say. Like, if you have a really good idea, they're probably going to be like, instead of merging with you, like if you're a really talented person, you'll probably scare people. Like, instead of that's what I don't understand. Like, these artists don't seem to understand that a rising tide raises all ships. A rising tide raises all ships, and they should merge with other artists that are talented outside of the establishment, because you can build. I mean, that you could build. I mean, getting a bunch of good artists together, you could. It's already being proven, by like Zach at the Diversity in Comics, man. Like, you could build an empire. You can compete now. We can compete with these people online, like all these social justice warriors that want to make every single lead character. See, there that goes back to believability. I'm just ranting now, but that goes back to believability. Every single it starts ruining the believability period for like every single, like almost everything that comes out of Hollywood and comic books now. It's like like from a perspective of not even within that movie itself, just an overall view of all the art and culture coming out of America. It's all just vagina worship. It's all women can do anything and men are a bunch of idiots, and it just ruins the believability for everything. I mean, like the consistency, the changing the characters from male to female, like Iron Man and Thor, and I mean, it's just the believability is gone. The believability is just gone, man. It's just pretty soon it's like you can barely turn on the TV anymore because you realize that it's more than just than just like an isolated incident. There's like an agenda being shoveled down your throat, and that's kind of like why I want to do my own comic book, just to have something out there that's not like seeded with like, here we go again. It's a 13-year-old girl that beats up giants. You know what I mean? It's not even done with any kind of like, they don't even make an excuse for it. You know what I mean? It's just like in your face, like some guy hiding in the corner while some model chick in high heels is like and like knocks it, and she's like, it knocks a guy out, and then like, ooh, I broke a nail. You know what I mean? It's like it was funny. As I remember when all that started, like in the early '80s, when they started doing all that, and it was a little funny at first. I was like, "Huh, that's hilarious." That girl's like, oh, the dude's hiding, and she just knocked out the bad guy. That's hilarious. Then by the time the '90s rolled around, and like everything was like, oh, the female saved the lead male character. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So my point is like, screw college, screw all these things. Just do comics on your own. I make the time. I don't even have a studio. I'm like, here's my kitchen. You can see dog food over in the corner. I'm modifying a part of my house to just do this, and I'm gonna draw more on camera, uh, you know, like more intricate stuff. You know, a lot of this stuff. I don't. I mean, you can go watch Jim Lee do this stuff now. You don't have to watch me. You can watch Jim Lee do it. But a lot. I used to use the potato sack method, which is like you just draw like a potato sack. And then I mix that with Bernie Hogarth, which is one leg at an angle, or if you can see one ankle, it's an S shape for the leg. If you can see both ankles, it's a B shape. You know what I mean? And then you just do your or here. Say if you want them to have a gun or something. I'm holding this up in the air while I'm sketching in front of the camera at an angle. So you got to forgive me. If you were drawing the Punisher or something, you see what I'm saying? Basically, bang. And I'll do more of that. I'll draw live. Pretty soon I'll have, maybe you guys can buy some of my T-shirts, and when I get some of my T-shirt patterns uploaded, and get a Patreon going, and I'll buy a nice camera, and I'll do like some of these other artists. I'll just draw live, and you know what I mean, and I'll do comic pages live, whole comic pages. You know what I mean? I'll answer your questions. You know what I mean? I'll show you perspective live. I'll show you anatomy live. I'll ink live. You know what I mean? Whatever. Then you just start kind of fleshing it out. You got this tendon thing comes down, wraps behind the knee. Then you got a teardrop shape there. You got a protrusion muscle there. You got the other. You got the other muscle behind that. You got your knee. You got that muscle there. You got the shin bone. You got your calf muscle. Boots, whatever. Same on the other side. You got this big teardrop muscle. You got another one there. Then you got another one here. Got your knee. Like this leg here, I kind of put it in a little bit too close. So you could like quickly just erase this. You know, I feel like I want it out here more. So I just kind of do this. You know what I mean? Just that real quick. Feet, when at that angle here, I'll show you a little trick. This foot's kind of pointing away. So what you want to do is have this line be like, say here's a straight line going across the picture. I actually have the front of this foot raised a little bit higher than the heel, like that foot's pointing away. And that helps a lot. Here, let me, I'm at a weird angle, so foot's not long enough. It really points the foot, it really kind of helps you establish that the foot is kind of pointing away in the other direction. Here, let me, I'm almost done. You got to do it just right, but once you get it. It's all sloppy because yeah, so you can have one foot pointed away, one foot pointed at the camera. Let me try to do a better example of this though. Like I wasn't really going to show you that. I'm kind of getting on to other things now, but so like let me see. You can see what I'm drawing a little bit. Okay, yeah, it looks a little better this time. There. You can see this foot is almost pointed up pretty much. You can make it level too, but you know, if you can get that foot to actually point up a little bit, it really gives the illusion that it's pointing the other way. Why do you really want to scribble a lot. You want to keep it loose, but you want to scribble a lot because it gives you all these options when you scribble. like here, he's got a cape or something. You know, there's just a quick superhero sketch where you loosely and you just kind of scribble it all out. You can, and scribbling gives you all these choices. Like, you know, I know essentially where I want things, but I don't know exactly. You know what I mean? So I kind of give myself options. I'll look in here and I can start like picking out the little details that I like. You know what I mean? I can scribble that all in. You know, I started making little face details, little ear details, you know what I mean? Little hair details, and I'm just kind of scribbling it in. And just kind of, I know generally where the muscles are. Like I know the shoulder, so I'll just like, you know, I'll be like, boom, round shoulder, get that bicep in there, get that tricep in there, get that, and then that curve to the forearm. You know what I mean? Get that all in there. Just indicate it. Yeah, I mean, you can go watch Jim Lee. He'll show you where all the you know, where the muscles are. You know, like generally it's like, you know, the arm is like, I'm getting way off now, but I'm gonna do more of this stuff uh basically live. I'm gonna do whole comic pages. I'm gonna take pages from like this all the way to like a fully penciled out page. And you know, I'm gonna basically do my comic book pages, but that's all for now. It's really late. I just wanted to have some fun and draw live and talk about starting your comic book, because that's the most important part, is where to start your comic book. And you know, and I believe I, you know, covered that fairly well. And if anybody has any questions, just let me know. And that's all for tonight's broadcast or podcast of the Action Artist. Have a good time drawing.